What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we are discussing Metroid Dread and how Nintendo is going completely ham with this game and how I think this is going to be much better than what some people are expecting or anticipating, and how this is going to catapult the Metroid franchise, which I've talked about before, but we're going to be going over a number of things because there has been some new stuff that has happened. But before we get into any of that, make sure you hit that like button. Also subscribe if you are someone new and click that notification bell to get my videos first. So let's go ahead and start off with Nintendo going ham on Metroid Dread. And what that means is the marketing for this game. Have you ever seen any type of lower end franchise for Nintendo? So not the top of the top, not the Splatoon, not the Zelda, not the Mario, Smash Brothers. Have you seen any game get this type of marketing push that you've seen from Nintendo that's more on the lower end tier on Twitter? And what they're doing, they are really pushing Metroid Dread as if it's going to be this experience that you can't miss. Like it's this experience that's going to sell 10 million copies plus, and everybody that has a Switch is anticipating this game. It feels like a huge, massive release for like Mario or for like Zelda or something like that. So something tells me there is something to this game that people aren't expecting, that Nintendo is ready. There is something with this game, that this game is probably a lot better than what people are expecting from when they first saw it, because they saw not a Metroid Prime. People always kind of put together with Metroid Prime, that's the super high quality, the graphics, the super high ratings. So maybe it's not always one-to-one with people when they see a 2D Metroid game. They see it as a lesser experience. But I personally feel Nintendo thinks that they have a game here that could be in Game of the Year contention, that this game could possibly be right up there with the review scores, because obviously they're playing the game, they know the game, they see the game. And even when Nintendo has a title from one of their second tier franchises sales wise, they never really push it this much or this hard, even in this year with different games that have came about that might be right around the sales aspects or levels of a Metroid game. So something tells me that they're pushing this game this hard because the game is going to be an extremely high quality game, as in a 90 plus rated game or a high 80s plus rated game, to where it could get that Game of the Year consideration. Because if you look at it, you have games like Super Mario Party that are coming out in the same month, granted at the end of the month, but they're not pushing it anywhere near as hard. You've got games that have came out before Metroid Dread, right? Stuff like the WarioWare Get It Together game. That's not being advertised or marketed anywhere near as much. We've had titles that have came out, Nintendo has talked about them, but it seems like Metroid Dread is even getting the famous quotes that sometimes people do. They just put one word that just says whatever you're talking about, and that's all you need to say about the game, and everyone just sits there and talks about it. They did that recently with Metroid Dread. All they said was hashtag Metroid Dread, then put up a screenshot that we've already seen before from that trailer, and it was just pandemonium. It was just hype in the chat. Yeah, some trolls and stuff, but overall people are just excited to see it. Doing stuff like that with games shows a level of confidence that Nintendo has in this title that I think honestly is going to surprise so many people. And I think that this is going to be, which I've talked about before, but I just wanted to discuss it again because I honestly feel this could be a Game of the Year type of quality game. I think it's going to have a 90 plus average or very close to that because of the quality of this game. If you look at Mercury Steam, this is a developer that is so talented. People don't understand exactly how talented that Mercury Steam is, from what they did with Castlevania Lords of Shadow to the game on the Nintendo 3DS. They are technical wizards out there with a lot of the hardware. Lords of Shadow 1 and 2 were some of the best looking games on the 7th generation, and the Lords of Shadow game on the Nintendo 3DS is impressive in its own right. And also Samus Returns is also one of the best looking 3DS games as well. So now you're getting them on Switch with the full power of the system and what they're working with. This is going to be a lot better than what some people are anticipating, especially with those cutscenes. You see that just everything looks smooth and looks extremely well done. So I think that there's going to be some surprise in there. Now let's talk about some of the other stuff, because I've had people discuss to me, okay, well, where are the sales going to be at? And I've discussed this so many times, but you always have to bring it up with Metroid, right? You always have to bring it up because people are skeptical. People don't think Metroid is ready to take that next step with this game. A lot of people feel that Metroid Prime 4 is going to be the game that takes Metroid to the next level with the sales. But I'd say, yes, you're actually correct about that. When Metroid Prime 4 finally launches one of these days, it's going to do extremely well, especially, of course, if it's a good game. But before we get Metroid Prime 4, this game, Metroid Dread, is going to come and take over when it comes down to it. Everything is aligning. The stars are aligned for Metroid to take that leap into the 3 million plus category. You're seeing the marketing that's going on with it. You're seeing how many people are saying, hey, I'm going to try this one out. This is going to be my first Metroid game. You're getting all of that with this one here. And we're seeing that pre-order numbers across the board when it comes to GameStop and also Amazon are off the charts for a Metroid game. So to me, it makes complete sense that this is going to be the game that surpasses the previous best-selling Metroid game, which would be Metroid Prime, the original on the GameCube. And if you count up the trilogy, obviously you can add it to the numbers there. But overall, we haven't had a single release on the platform, non-virtual console or anything like that, come out to do over the 3 million units, and this game will get it done. The Switch is the perfect storm system for that to happen. You're launching it with new hardware. There are just so many momentum shakers, momentum shifters that push Metroid Dread further than what we've got for any other Metroid title. And let me ask you guys a question. When was the last time that we saw a Metroid game that was as hyped as this one, that didn't have the fans arguing back and forth? Pretty much every Metroid game, there's always something that comes out. In the modern era, we're not talking with the Super Nintendo before like the Twitter and before the internet and all that different type of stuff. We're talking about in the modern era, right? We had issues with Metroid Other M. We had issues even with the original Metroid on forums and stuff like that. We had issues with Metroid Prime 2 in the Light and Dark world. We had issues with Metroid Prime 3 on the Wii and not having the regular standard controls and forcing you to use motion, even though they're very good. There was always something. There was always something with different Metroid games. The portable Metroid games, okay, well, we're going down like a lot in graphical quality. It's a cool game, but we're going down a lot. I want to play something in HD or on the consoles. There was always something with any of the modern Metroid games in the past 20 years, but now there's a perfect storm. You have your HD, you have your portable, you have your nice looking game, you have everything for the most part that you could want. Obviously, it's not a Metroid Prime, but still, everything is aligning for this game to just do extremely well. And the concept is probably the most intriguing and best concept ever for a Metroid game. Let's just be real here. Usually it's Samus goes to some planet, isolation, blah, blah, blah. You have something that you have to kill, Mother Brain, whatever the case is, some type of big thing that's happening. And that's that. You got to eradicate some Metroids. But this is like, there's these crazy robots that are around. There's this crazy Chozo that's around. There's just all this stuff that's happening that just seems so intriguing and different from a story-wise point that translates directly into gameplay. This is the game. I know I've been saying it, but this is the game that's finally going to draw in that extra audience, that Nintendo audience that knows that Metroid is there. They know that Metroid is a franchise that's really good. They've seen Samus in Super Smash Bros. They just haven't pulled the trigger on a game, and honestly, guys, Metroid Dread will be that title to get it done. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the anticipation. I'm really looking forward to seeing what people have to say. But there's been some questions that people have asked me about the long-term, I would say, legs of this in terms of sales and everything. And yeah, I do feel that for the most part, Metroid Dread is going to be a front-loaded type of game, the hardcore Metroid fans that have been waiting decades for this. But I feel that it can get residual sales because of the style of game that it is. Metroid games have replayability, there's speed running options, there's options for different difficulties. I personally feel there's going to be like secret bosses and of course getting 100% runs. So I feel that the residual sales, the long-term sales for this game are going to be better than what we've seen in previous Metroid games, especially with games like Samus Returns that had a lot of extra content and other things put in there. It was just unfortunate that it was on the Nintendo 3DS at the end of the lifespan. Still, people definitely should have bought that game more, even on the Nintendo 3DS. But I think that moving to Switch is really going to have that Switch effect, which I've talked about in various different videos. Make sure you guys go check those out if you can. But that Switch effect is in full effect with this game, and you combine that with Nintendo's superb marketing strategy so far, all the different pre-orders that we've seen here. This is something to behold. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a huge Metroid fan. I honestly believe it, and I feel that the momentum is lined up and ready to go. But we're gonna have to wait and see on that. What do you guys think about this when it comes to Metroid Dread? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this type of content, and check out the link in the description if you want to become a channel member. Help out the channel, also get some emotes and some cool stuff for the live streams as well. I'd really appreciate that. And thank you to everybody who's already became a channel member on here, over 500 strong. So I do appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next video. Peace.